We were born in a time of great change, when Norwegian explorers were changing our view of the world. In 1896, we set out on our great journey, driven by curiosity to sail in the wake of giants, changing our horizons from Norway to all points of the compass, where polar bears roam, penguins dance, and albatrosses float above archipelagos. We changed course, and we changed courses. We changed coats and boats, changing the ways you can discover and learn, the way you can see, feel, and hear the world around you, changing the lives of those who share our journey, with the help of those who have changed ours. We've taken people further and deeper into a world of wonder. And along the way, we changed the way we sail for everyone. But some things will never change. Powered by our curiosity, always exploring, and forever inspired to protect our home. We do all this for one purpose: to change the way you see the world. We were born in a time of great change, when Norwegian explorers were changing our view of the world. In 1896, we set out on our great journey, driven by curiosity to sail in the wake of giants, changing our horizons from Norway to all points of the compass, where polar bears roam, penguins dance, and albatrosses float above archipelagos. We changed course, and we changed courses. We changed coats and boats, changing the ways you can discover and learn, the way you can see, feel, and hear the world around you, changing the lives of those who share our journey, with the help of those who have changed ours. We've taken people further and deeper into a world of wonder. And along the way, we changed the way we sail for everyone. But some things will never change. Powered by our curiosity, always exploring, and forever inspired to protect our home. We do all this for one purpose: to change the way you see the world.
Good afternoon and happy Tuesday. Tuesday is our favorite day to do Travel Talk Tuesdays. Now, I want to type in, if you have any questions, please type them here. So if you do have any questions during the broadcast today, I want to invite you to type them in the comments, because if for some reason we do not get to them while on this live stream today, we will be sure to get back to you and answer all the lovely questions. And I believe we have our guest here now. Hello, Kent. Welcome.
Hi. You're on a plane.
Yes, I'm sitting in my private jet, you know.
Nice.
So, welcome to another episode of Travel Talk Tuesday with your host, Melissa, myself, from Travel Chicks. Today, I'm super excited to bring on our guest, Kent Phillips with Hurtigruten, Expeditions. And if you have never heard of this company, I mean, if you're watching this replay and you saw the video I posted first, you will get a very good glimpse of experiencing or imagining what yourself could experience while on one of these incredible journeys. And I'm super excited because this year we took a group of travelers down to Mazatlan for the solar eclipse. And last week I saw the email come out with you guys hosting this wonderful cruise expedition for the solar eclipse. And if you've never done a solar eclipse, words cannot even explain or describe the experience. It is out of this world. And no, you're not at TELUS World of Science like you are in real life. And so, without further ado, Kent, I want you to take it away. And so I think a really great place to start is do you have slides? Did you want to show slides?
I do, yeah. If I
think
present.
You it should share screen and then entire screen or something.
Try. Oh.
Okay, so we'll add that.
There, that's the beginning. Can you see that?
Yes. A dog?
No.
Okay, so you probably have to click on the left, I think.
Let me go. No. It shows for me. Interesting. Let me just go. I love technology. How's that?
Okay, let's see. Yeah. All right. Yep, that's good.
You can see that now?
Yep. Is awesome. It on the slideshow, can you present from beginning?
Yeah. How's that?
Yeah, because it shows the slides along the side.
Oh, okay. Is it still showing them?
Yeah.
It is.
Present, the button at the top right, it said present.
Yeah, that's what I have. Okay, can you see that now?
Now you have to add it back.
Okay. We'll figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there, and then we want from beginning, I think. Does that work?
Yeah, maybe unclick use presenter view. Yeah. It's check marked, okay. Yep, right under the monitor.
Okay, unclick.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it shows it fine for me, but it's hard to say.
Okay. The perfect balance. All right. So, yeah.
Yes.
So, take it away. Let's hear all about Hurtigruten, especially if people haven't heard of your company before. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are HX, Hurtigruten Expeditions, a company that's actually been around for over 130 years, one of the first expedition companies in the world that started way back when in Norway with some of the early explorers, Roald Amundsen, Fridtjof Nansen, some of those adventurous Norwegians, as they still are today, a lot of them trying to explore the far reaches of the planet. So, those are two of the early ones that went down to the North Pole, South Pole, the high Arctic, and kind of continued from there. And that history of navigating some of the most incredible parts of the world has kind of culminated and transpired over a number of years into what we are and who we are today as one of the most sustainable cruise ship companies in the world. We've gone through lots of transition. So there is actually the company has kind of gone two directions. One is Hurtigruten Norway, where kind of our history lies of navigating the coast of Norway as a ferry and mail line, if you will, into kind of more of the global expedition, more of an upgraded experience, and what we talk about with the perfect balance. So, kind of combining these three, because for a lot of people, expedition, especially, maybe even 10, 20, 30 years ago, was purely adventurous, very rustic, for those that definitely looked further than the square of travel, looking to go beyond the borders and what have you. So it's expanded now and to include more comfort, more sustainability, and that's important as we, move into the next decades of travel, and we try to preserve some of these very special places. So we always talk about that in our history, our Norwegian history, and then as a global expedition company. And again, I think a lot of it has to do with what is expedition cruising, because a lot of people don't really know what that means. So, the important part here is you're seeing the world in its natural state, and that's important. So whether it be wildlife or icebergs or beautiful fjords that you will see on this solar eclipse trip, everything has that in mind, with the sustainability the background. So we're going to very remote destinations in the world. These are on custom built expedition vessels that are designed for the waters they travel into. We're doing lots of exciting activities, so it's not just about a sail by. You're actually getting off the ship in zodiacs and kayaks and doing landings and hikes, and really getting such an amazing perspective of these beautiful places. And again, we want to focus on discovery over, we call it experiential luxury over material luxury. So our luxury is going to be seeing, beautiful marine life up close and personal, penguins, whales, what have you, birds, over casinos and shows and such. So that's kind of, what it is in a nutshell. And again, these are much smaller ships than typically we're used to in the cruise world. And then we talk about, go ahead, Melissa, sorry.
I actually had a question that was
Yes.
sent via email, and people are wondering, how many people are typically on these ships?
Yep, good question. So we have HX has 5 vessels, and we'll talk about the solar eclipse one kind of at the end here. But we have 5 vessels, starting with our smallest vessel, which is the Santa Cruz 2, which we operate in the Galapagos Islands, one of the most beautiful places on Earth. That has a capacity of 90 packs, 50 cabins on that one. And the great thing about Galapagos is it's most of the time you're actually spent off the ship. Compared to anywhere else, it has the highest majority of time spent off the ship. You're exploring islands, you're going kayaking, you're snorkeling, you're visiting the Charles Darwin Research Center. So that's your smallest vessel. Then we have the Fram and the Spitsbergen. The MS Spitsbergen is actually the vessel we're using for this solar eclipse trip in 2026. And I'll come back to that in a second. The MS Fram, which right now I've been following this week because it's on our first Antarctica sailing of this season. The MS Fram is typically around 200 passengers, and I'm seeing some spectacular footage, images of penguin colonies, of birds, of icebergs in Antarctica. So that's the Fram. And then we have our hybrid, the only hybrid ships in the cruising world. We have 2 sister ships, the Nansen and the Amundsen. I've been on them both recently. Spectacular vessels, beautiful. The most sustainable in the industry when it comes to operation, design, green technology. So these, again, are hybrid battery powered ships. So they're also the quietest when you're on the water, which is great not only for the guests, but for the environment below. And those take up to 490, but typically on average, kind of 300 to 350. I was on the Amundsen in Alaska with my daughter this past August, and we had about 320 on there, and just a remarkable vessel. Like I said, beautiful Nordic design, refined yet informal, a couple different wonderful restaurants, a infinity saltwater pool, a Nordic sauna. We're kind of known, and I should mention that, as the science and education expedition leader. So when you come on board, you see these state-of-the-art science centers. These are not what you had in school when you were growing up. They are immaculate, unbelievably working science center, and researchers educators are in there doing their work, but immersed with the guests. So those are your two at the top. And then the MS Spitsbergen, which we use in, typically you're going to find it up in Iceland, Greenland, Svalbard, where we are going to be going for the solar eclipse trip in August of 2026. And the Spitsbergen has typically, on average, about 165, 175 guests on board. That one, and a wonderful way to experience the solar eclipse.
Cool. And the other question actually was, what is dining? And I'm not sure if you have this in your slides, but what is the dining experience like on board?
Absolutely. So as a Norwegian company, you will find that kind of that European Scandinavian flair. So it will be seafood focused, but it doesn't mean that that's your only option. So I know, again, when I've been sailing, it's been a really nice mix. We've had smoked salmon, halibut, cod, shrimp, wonderful seafood, but some people aren't big seafood lovers, so you're going to get a mix of, I've had steak, I've had wonderful pasta. You can also get sandwiches, burgers, a nice array of breakfast food. So actually the food is quite spectacular, and catering to all dietary
Okay, that was
restrictions
my
as
next
well.
question.
Yeah. So, if you're plant-based, if you're vegetarian, if you're vegan, we get all that information from you if you're coming on board any of our trips. And that goes to the head chefs. And then they, I know when I was in Alaska, I talked to the head chef about mine, and they go out of their way to make sure that they cater to your needs. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And hopefully you can see this slide here. This is the actual trip. So I don't know if you want me to go into the actual trip now and kind of what we're excited about.
Yeah. So it's still on slide 1.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why it's not working.
There's Can you email me that? And maybe I'll try doing it on my screen, and I'll click while you talk.
Yeah, my apologies. I don't know why it's not working. This is, sometimes this happens.
Well, yeah.
I'm also not it's funny, we use different ways to send or to I use Teams and Zoom. So that's what I'm used to.
Oh, yeah. I never use Teams.
Yeah, and that's and so you get used to how they kind of show up on there. Let's see if we can do this, and then you can get it. Because yeah, it'd be nice to see these. Let me send this. Hopefully, it's not too large. We can talk in the meantime, but.
Let me see. What other question did I have? Oh, when people are on board these ships, is there a variety of different restaurants? I know you said it's not like the typical cruise experience, but in people's minds, it's like, oh, you can go to this lounge and, listen to a live pianist and have a glass of wine after the day, or you can go to this restaurant that's open, all throughout the day. And then a second part to that question would be, is all the food and drinks included?
Yes, great question. So as of October 20th, we are all inclusive. So all inclusive basically means that your food, your drinks, whether those are alcoholic or non-alcoholic, we actually include Starlink Wi-Fi. Your gratuities are included. You get an expedition jacket everywhere except for Galapagos. So a wonderful expedition jacket. We have the new HX jackets that are made out of recycled material. You get your refillable water bottle that is with our partnership with OceanWise, also from recycled beach materials, as we do beach cleanups in most of the destinations we visit when it allows. You also get these wonderful logbooks after your trip. So the logbook, basically, we have a professional photographer and videographer. So you get the logbooks with video and all the photos of your trip. And then a lot of your activities are included as well. And when it comes to dining, it's dependent on the ship. So in Galapagos, for example, there's the Beagle restaurant. That's one restaurant. Smaller vessels typically don't have the space. So, the Ane is our main dining room on all the other destinations, or all the other vessels, sorry. And that's it's a really nice open concept restaurant, very Nordic design. And on there, you have a mix of buffet and a la carte. They'll do like a seafood buffet some nights, and then they'll do an a la carte other nights. And then the Lindstrom is what you will find is kind of a fine dining experience, like a 5-course meal. That's for guests that book in suites, or you can pay a supplement that is about €35, which is quite reasonable when we consider cost of eating out these days. So as far as food is concerned, I was very impressed with the food when I've been on board, for sure. And again, for any, obviously food is very subjective, and dining is very subjective to people's experience and what they typically like. And it's a nice array of foods, because I've had people think, oh, it's going to be all seafood, and not the case. Yeah.
And do you find a lot of kids are on these expeditions?
Yeah, good question. I would say probably our most family-friendly itinerary and destination would be Galapagos. But in saying that, typically Galapagos is best for those kids that are a little more, what's the word? Able,
Older?
I guess. A little bit older, yeah, because it is very activity focused. So doing things like kayaking and snorkeling and that, if they're 5 and under, it's going to be a challenge. So I've been, when I talk to guests or clients or what have you, or those when they're looking at Galapagos, 8+ is really a good age to go. I mean, I'm definitely going to bring my daughter. In saying that, I mean, I took my daughter to Alaska, and probably one of the best experiences she's ever had. Like to watch her amazement and excitement, even though there weren't a lot of children. We had a few, but it didn't matter because she was engaged. She was hanging out with the expedition leader. She was in the science center, checking out the microscopes and the specimens, and in the bookshop. And then she was hanging out in the infinity pool with amazing views where we saw humpback whales breaching. It was absolutely incredible. And then when I was out kayaking one day, they didn't have the gear for her. They do sometimes, but she was a bit short for the gear they had, and it's very safety conscious. So I went off kayaking. I knew she was in good hands, but within an hour, they actually brought her out on a Zodiac to say hi to Dad. So they go out of their way. They're amazing with children, and I was very impressed. I wish I could have gone to Antarctica when I was a kid, but I didn't have that option. But there are, typically it's 9+ in Antarctica. You don't get a lot of children in those destinations. When you have your market is definitely for those, I'd say, working professionals, and there you go. And those that have the means, the bucket list trips when they're retired, what have you. But I would say, yeah, Galapagos, Alaska would be fantastic. As probably your 2 starting points for families. Yeah. And
Okay.
such a different experience to what we think of as far as traveling with families. And for me, it's always been, I want to do things outside the box of norm, because I think I want an educational experience for my child.
Mm-hmm. And do they have a thing such as like kids club on board, or no?
Not really. No.
Okay.
No, we don't. But in Galapagos, like I said, I've talked to a number of adults, clients and guests that have traveled with us that brought our kids, and they said it was phenomenal. They said like the kids had a blast. The expedition team were always involved in playing games and hanging out with them and snorkeling with them, and absolutely loving the experience. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So is this a slide you want?
Look at that. Yeah, that looks great. We can go to the itinerary. We can go forward. There's some beautiful Inuit, the Inuit hospitality. So yeah, here's the solar eclipse trip. Actually departing on August 3rd. So got to wait a little bit of time. It's August of 2026, not 2025. And again, a rare opportunity. The benefit of doing the trip with HX is you're going to get to see probably one of the most spectacular remote parts of the world. And we're going to be in East Greenland for the solar eclipse, which is going to be on the afternoon of August 12th. 2026, in one of the most beautiful places on Earth, in the Scoresby Sund, which is the largest fjord system in the world. A lot of people don't realize that. They think it's in Norway or Chile, but actually it's in East Greenland. So it is such an amazing part of the world that a lot of people don't get to see. But the benefit is, day one, you start in one of the best cities in the world, in Scandinavian Oslo. And of course, you know, it's always nice to bookend a trip with a few days in these amazing places. So you can spend a couple days in Oslo. Great culinary scene, amazing museums, maritime museums, wonderful cosmopolitan city of Oslo. And then we fly you up to Longyearbyen. Longyearbyen is actually the northernmost town in the world, the most remote town in the world, and about as close as the North Pole as you can get. We actually spend 2 days there. So we fly you up to Longyearbyen, and you may get lucky, which you usually are, to see the resident reindeer. So it's really exciting to see reindeer in their natural habitat. Yeah. And then we spend time, it's a small frontier settlement. But then we actually, we also take you out on a hybrid catamaran, which is very cool, on a natural experience. And again, with hybrid, just being very quiet. So we're always mindful of not disturbing the local wildlife and what have you. So that's a really great experience. And then that's where we start our sailing. So, the first couple of days you're going to be heading to Greenland is really an opportunity and excitement of being on board and learning and doing the briefings, and you'll have an amount of researchers, scientists, astrologists, marine biologists that are going to be on board, and they're typically on board all of our trips. And amazing, I just got off a trip where we had someone from NASA that was on board, and everyone would have their mouths on the floor just from what they were explaining to us, and what a amazing job to work for NASA. So we're going to have those specialists on board, and they're going to be getting the guest excited about the solar eclipse and astrology and what we're going to see. And so they're doing lectures as we're sailing. And then you're also enjoying the onboard experience, the food, the hot tubs, the panoramic views. We have a gym on board as well. So it's a wonderful first few days to kind of lead up that excitement of then getting into, again, one of the most beautiful remote places in the Earth. Greenland's really kind of becoming that next step destination. We saw it in Iceland, a number of years ago at its climax. Greenland, the time to go is now. You have amazing natural wonders. As I said, the largest fjord systems in the world, glaciers, icebergs, mountains, incredible wildlife opportunities. We're going to be spending quite a few days on the east side of Greenland, where we'll have a lot of opportunities to see, this natural splendor, but also hopefully, depending on weather, going to one of the most remote communities in the world, one of the Inuit communities we have a very good mutual respect and rapport with. So we go visit them. We do some whale watching. We get off on our Zodiacs and do some landings, some hikes, and that's what's so epic about this trip. And actually, the other thing about Greenland and where we go, it's the largest national park in the world, over 375,000 square miles, which is incredible. So we're spending time there as we head down to Scoresby Sund. We can continue on, and you'll see it here. So don't ask me to pronounce a lot of these names. Still learning.
Yeah.
It's always incredible. My Alex McNeil is one of our expedition great minds. He actually spends a lot of time working with the Greenlandic people. He can say them amazingly well. I need to learn them still, but we're going down to Scoresby Sund Fjord, which again is going to be probably one of the best places in the world to see the solar eclipse on August 12th, in amongst this gorgeous area. But a lot of what we do, and again, is our responsible travel, is our community engagement, and it's sustainability is not always on the green technology and removing plastic and what have you. It's also how we interact with the local people, how we engage, how we respect, and how we're invited. We are invited guests into their land, and we have an amazing relationship with the Greenlandic Inuit communities. And so these are some of my best memories of travel in my life are going into communities and playing soccer with the children and really having, you know, a laugh and a smile. And you might not always speak the same language, but you know, there is a mutual understanding there and a real engagement that you'll get and a learning. You know, you'll have some of the elders showcase some of their culture and language and history, and we really learn. And that's what we want from our experiences, our guests to learn, to be educated, to come home with an appreciation of the world and appreciation for how to travel properly, sustainably, and for the future. And then, come on.
So cute.
This was actually photos. So half my team actually went to Greenland this summer, and oh my God, like their stories, their videos were spectacular, and they talk about it daily, and I'm very envious because I haven't been to Greenland yet. But that dog, actually, I showed the picture to my daughter, and now she wants to go to Greenland and find that dog and bring it home. But just beautiful, just a beautiful place. And to go and to capture these moments. And again, it's about, I think a lot of travel too, and a lot of the way we travel, it's about mindfulness, it's about purposeful travel, and it's about changing your mindset. It's about, again, going and taking a deep breath and really understanding that, you know, we have to kind of sometimes step back from our day-to-day busy lives with work and family and kids and the challenges of life. And when you go on these trips, it really is a way to step back, take a fresh breath of air, and realize how amazing the world is and how amazing you can be within that world. So this is the MS Spitsbergen, our adventure. I call it the Adventure Lodge at sea. So you can see one of my favorite aspects, and a lot of our guests' favorite aspects, is the sauna. It's a proper Nordic sauna, wonderful. The dining spaces, the rooms are very comfortable. I've been told, and I agree, that some of the most comfortable beds people have ever slept in. And again, it's a very warm Nordic design. So there's not a lot of bells and whistles. We don't have butlers and champagne service and entertainment and such. It's subdued. It's informal yet refined. But again, it's kind of that laid back atmosphere where you can still enjoy the onboard experience, but really appreciate your surroundings, especially when you go on the outer decks and just see the views. And that's my favorite part of cruising with expedition as well. Mm-hmm. And that's just kind of, a little snapshot of, of the trip. And I think, you're seeing, in the last few years, especially this past year, it seemed like the buzz was Northern Lights and solar eclipse, right? So we actually do a Northern Lights trip in Norway, a winter trip that we're going to be also doing in 2026. So really exciting. A lot of people still really interested in going to places like Iceland and Norway and places like that. I will say too, as we continue down through Greenland after the solar eclipse, then we're going to be continuing onward across the Denmark Strait. So it's kind of that, again, a few days crossing the Denmark Strait to Iceland, where you can kind of encapsulate that whole trip. And it's always the excitement of talking to the other guests and sharing your photos and stories and spending time with the onboard crew and staff and expedition team. And then you go to, one of my favorite cities, Reykjavik, which is fantastic. Again, amazing city, full of incredible food. You have beautiful museums there. The Harpa Music Hall, where I've seen live music before, and then always should spend a couple days in Iceland exploring the thermal pools and the geysers and the waterfalls and just the amazing Icelandic culture. It's a fantastic place. You feel like you're in a different planet when you visit there.
Yeah, I think that's on many people's bucket lists to visit. On August 12th, when the ship or the people on board the expedition are viewing the solar eclipse, are they going to, are you guys going to be sailing, or are you going to be
positioned?
Yeah.
They'll be on the water, but they're going to typically it's I also like to say expect the unexpected, because when you again go to these destinations, sometimes you have to change course due to ice flows, icebergs, what have you. So these are why we're very lucky to have a lot of the captains are Norwegian. They have a long history of navigating these waters. So it's always a matter of where they can be at a certain time, but typically where they're going to hope to be is within the fjords at about 4:35 when the solar eclipse occurs on the 12th. And again, to be in that spot would be a trip of a lifetime, a chance of a lifetime to be in that. And not a lot of people can say, number one, they've been to this area of Greenland, but to actually witness the solar eclipse in the fjords of Eastern Greenland would be pretty special.
Yeah, and at Travel Chicks, just based on the solar eclipse trip we took this year, I had sent out an email last week sharing about this presentation, and we have people who are part of the Astronomers Society of Canada, and
Nice.
so they may have a lot of questions in regards to the solar eclipse, and so as the ship is sailing there, you said there's lectures, so people can attend these lectures, like, included?
Oh yeah. So
Like, no
I mean,
extra
that
charge?
is part of our experience. It's because sometimes you go on certain trips, and there can be science centers, there can be science and researchers, but they're not always immersed with the guests. Sometimes they're just on there working or tucked away in a corner. Our science centers are kind of the pinnacle of our vessels. They're when you walk on board, it's this wow moment. And typically next to the science center is the lecture theater. So throughout a course of a trip, whether it be solar eclipse or any of our others, it's a working science center, and they're talking you through, and then you'll get a daily program basically. And that daily program would be, you can learn about astrology from NASA scientists. We've got Ari, one of our world-leading whale migration scientist that I just met recently. Incredible human being that's doing a lot of work with trying to safeguard whale migration routes on coasts and working with governments to alleviate issues with shipping lanes and fishing issues with the whale migration. So you're going to meet these amazing people and ornithologists that are going to be on there, and then they'll have a daily program say, we're going to be doing a zodiac cruising at this time, or this lecture is on at this time, you can go to it. So it's throughout the days. So every day there's so much opportunity for these experiences, and it's a nice balance. We're always balancing the onboard and the offboard experience. Yeah.
Okay, and for the solar eclipse, it departs August 3rd. It's a 17-day trip. Is there any opportunity for people to have a shorter length of time in order to catch the eclipse at one of these?
Not once this is our one sailing that we're doing. So it's a set itinerary with set dates. So we can't do shortened trips. That the logistics would be too difficult to arrange. And again, you are going to a very isolated area. So it's not, part of that is the sailing time, because you've got to get from Oslo up to Longyearbyen, Svalbard, and from Svalbard down to Eastern Greenland's a few days. And then we're taking our time in East Greenland because of the breadth and the depth of that area. And then we have to cross all the way back from Greenland across the Denmark Strait to Iceland. So it is a set itinerary. And unfortunately, we can't kind of deviate from that. Yeah.
Okay. And then what sort of pricing is people looking at?
It's not budget friendly. I'm very transparent about that. But these aren't budget friendly trips. I mean, you can go on trips with HX that are going to be, very different costing based on, this is a specialty trip. You'll see it out there in the market with other solar eclipse sailing. So I think last I looked, it was kind of around the 16 to 18,000 US mark as far as that sailing. But again, you have to consider the length of the trip, the opportunity, and the all-inclusive nature. So kind of that value rolled in there with a 3-week trip. It's not just a week holiday, if you will. So it's obviously financially, it's going to be a more costly endeavor. But, cost is relative to different people. So. Yeah.
Yep. And what about for the solo traveler? Are there any specials that you guys offer?
We do have. I don't know how it's going to work on this one. I know the trip has actually been selling quite well. It's been quite popular, which is great. People are excited about it. Typically, what we do have a solar program, but typically you can't book it this far out. What they'll do is they normally will have a few cabins, solo cabins available, but those come up closer. Usually, I mean, it's 3 to 6 months in advance. It just depends on the sailing, what have you. So we get a list monthly. I just got it, I get an updated one, and it'll say, these are all the trips where we have the waived, we call it the wave single supplement. So you're not paying a single supplement. But even with that being said, we do have actually quite reasonable rates when it is a solo traveler. I've looked at some comparables, and it's not always 50 to 100% or 200%, whatever it is that gets charged sometimes. So there are some reasonable rates at times if there isn't a wave single supplement for that certain sailing. So always something to check for sure.
Okay. And then on board the ships, there's a lot of learning opportunities and experiences and stuff like that for people.
Yeah.
Does Hurtigruten include any off-board excursions?
Yeah. So typically, so typically on every trip we do, there's going to be accommodation. So usually, so I use Alaska, for example, because I was just there not too long ago. So I did a number of Zodiac cruisings. I did landings where we did some cultural community visits and learning with some of our Indigenous partners and locals. And there were some hikes that you could do. So a number of those are included, and you'll get that on a daily program. You can also see on our trips what's included. A lot of that is under the all-inclusive nature of what we're offering. There are some premium experiences that aren't at the moment, and that would be, for example, kayaking. Is a separate one. So, and part of that is because we have to do, it's very safety focused, of course, because when you're taking people off ship kayaking and not everyone has the same experience as our leaders, it's imperative that they go to our safety briefing. So you have to go to a safety briefing, and then you get put into, it's kind of a lottery system, because again, there's only so many kayaks, so many Zodiacs. And then they basically, like we did in Alaska, I got to go kayaking in Misty Fjords. Someone else got to go kayaking in Icy Bay, and they kind of divvy it up that way. And then there was some other excursions, Antarctica, for example, camping in Antarctica, which is very restricted because any landing in Antarctica is very restricted. So, we can only take so many people on our tented camping in Antarctica, and you will only be there for a certain amount of hours. So again, that one is excluded from the all-inclusive. So there's a few here and there, but you do have a lot included. And for some people that would be plenty on an experience. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that is amazing. I thank you for sharing this. And if you're tuning in to the replay and you do have questions, you can reach out directly to me at melissa@travelchicks.ca. And the itinerary, is there an actual posted itinerary?
It's on, travelhx.com. I should also mention too, before I forget, we will be coming out. It won't be applicable to this sailing, but we are coming out with a Black Friday sale, November 12th to December 9th, on certain sailings for the rest of this year and 2025. So it actually covers most of our destinations. So there's some great opportunity there for those interested in doing these amazing bucket list trips.
Mm-hmm. And I guess in closing, a great question I asked you the other day, just so people kind of have an idea of what you guys are about. Who would you say the ideal client or ideal traveler is for these types of expeditions?
Yeah, I like to use a few words. Curious travelers. They're looking for, as I used the word before, but looking for more experiential experience over material experience. So, I get asked, and I'd say common, like, I met even Alaska teachers, professors, alumni, people interested in the natural world, marine biologists, birders. We actually have an agreement with Audubon, the largest nonprofit birding society in the world. So if people are interested in marine life, in birds, in education, science, research, sustainability in mind, very focused on those ideals and values, those are going to be our ideal clientele. They don't need the bells and whistles. They don't need the like I said, the butlers and the dress codes, and again, it's an informal, relaxed atmosphere, but I still think it's quite refined. But those, I would say, those are your typical clients that would really enjoy this experience. Yeah, and those with children, and again, I'm one of those that I want my daughter to have these type of experiences, because I think it's very important to showcase this to those future generations, to show them there is another way. There's another way to travel. There's another way to experience the world, and there's another way forward for us in this industry. Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you for tuning in with me today live, Kent. I appreciate your
Thanks.
time. And thank you to all of you who are watching and watching the replay. Until next time, I guess we'll say adios.
Okay. Ciao. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.